Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
what could be done to prevent mass shootings? A lot of these mass shooters aren't just coming out of nowhere. According to this study, a solid majority of mass shooting were part of domestic violence, or the shooters had a history of domestic violence. Not going to spend all night digging into this, but I wouldn't be surprised if mass shooters are likely to have history of other violent or otherwise antisocial, stalking for example, crimes and behaviors. Mass shooting isn't generally the start. It's an escalation, and I think it's a pretty good indication that we really need to handle domestic violence and other such crimes a lot better, if not for how fucked up it already is, then to stop it from escalating into something worse. I remember reading somewhere that DV calls are the ones cops hate the most, as it's the call they are most likely to get shot at. Also the ones most likely to run into a coworker. Also typical that there are a non-trivial occurrence of repeat offenders, which is both a symptom and a cause of the way they approach them. Stop turning shooters into celebrities in the media. Edit. Some people are confused. 1. Not making them celebrities doesn't mean talking about mass shootings. Just not plastering the names and faces everywhere. 2. I'm British. I don't know what's best for Americans as well as they do. But here's some thoughts. I don't think you can copy-paste UK policy to the US. It's like changing someone's intrinsic identity. Take Iran for example, one of the lowest alcohol mortality rates. Imagine an Iranian saying to a British person, "Why don't you just ban alcohol? It causes so much death. We banned it and our rate of mortality due to alcohol is one of the lowest in the world." You'd say something like, "Why should I give up something I enjoy and is part of my culture because a few bad apples take it too far?" From talking to them, Americans view guns the same way. Why does someone else doing wrong with guns have any bearing on me who's just using it for fun, protection? I'd say a mix is gun regulations and mental health support, and not making martyrs of shooters has the best chance. Psychologists keep telling us this, and media vultures keep ignoring them. I actually have noticed a lot of restraint. Used to be some person's name splattered across every news show. Now it's reporting on the event and a description of the shooter's demographic. I have no idea what the most recent shooter's name is, the one from California. I'm sure K. Cold find it though. As a teacher, it starts with kids needing love and care at home, which leads to people having their basic Maslow needs met so they aren't constantly struggling. And mental health needs to become a priority instead of something we mostly ignore in the US. Kids, and adults, seek power and a sense of control through a gun because it's missing in the rest of their life. I wish this was higher. You are directly addressing the cultural aspects that need addressing in America. There is a term that is very relevant. A country that doesn't protect its youth is doomed. I feel it really does apply here. Preach. Sadly, I think nothing will change without a generational change. We have to drill home the importance of good parenting, of trying to provide a good, stable, loving household. A good home life can counteract or nullify anything kids see in media, games, music. Present parents who encourage their kids to talk it out, rather than stew and fester and sit in their own echo chamber. And even if you get everyone on board with that idea, you still have 15 plus years before the kids raised under that new mindset reach the age where they would have become shooters. A generational change is needed. Many of these mass shootings are angry suicides. James Densley, professor of criminal justice at Minnesota's Metropolitan State University, told me 4 years ago. And now there's even more evidence to suggest that's true. It isn't news that a lot of mass shooters suffer from suicidal ideation, said James Lankford, a professor of criminology at the University of Alabama. But it wasn't until he published a 2021 study comparing mass shooters to other demographic groups that he truly realized just how much more mass shooters had in common with people who die by suicide than they did with other kinds of homicide offenders. https://538.com/features/suicide-prevention-could-prevent-mass-shootings/. I might be talking out of my ass, but many mass shootings don't end from police killing or apprehending the shooter, but from them killing themselves. Sorts by controversial. That is right. The solution was there all along. Cut spending on education to give billionaires tax breaks. Great job everyone, the system is working. The solution is more guns. The more guns everyone has, the safer we are, because anyone can murder anyone else at any moment. This applies to even larger weapons as well. For us to all truly to be safe, we should all have nukes, so as soon as anyone has a bad day they can blow up whatever county they're in. That is safety, my friends. Our right to bear nuclear arms is in the Second Amendment, and it says right there, shall not be infringed. Stop allowing everyone to buy guns. Deleted. Edit. Adding the comment I originally replied to since it changes my comment's context. Gun owners hate this one simple trick. I used to think this was the answer. But the problem is too complex for this blunt of an instrument. At least on its own. Bans on gun ownership tend to be disproportionately enforced against people of color and poorer people. Plus, guns are widely available illegally. And if you cut back or ban firearms production in the US, you're basically begging organized crime in Central and South America to start smuggling guns in, rather than out, which is what they're doing now. If you try to address that with tightened border security, you start getting unintended consequences for people trying to come here for a better life. God knows what other unforeseeable consequences we'd face. It's a fucking mess. Guns are a bell that can't be unrung. We can't pretend like abolition is feasible in the US when overland smuggling is also feasible. I don't know what the solution is, but it's broader than just banning gun ownership. Edit. I agree that the problem has a lot to do with American culture. That's why I said preventing people from buying guns without more would largely be futile. This is a huge and nuanced problem that needs to be addressed on multiple fronts. One of those fronts is almost certainly some form of gun control. Other fronts include cultural fetishization and glorification of violence, economic inequality, and mental health care. I just think it's problematic how everyone oversimplifies these problems in favor of a pithy response. That's not constructive because it discounts the problem's complexity and alienates people who favor some safe gun ownership. Personally, if I had a magic wand, I'd eliminate all guns and humanity's knowledge of them. But we live in reality and need to take a realistic approach. We're not fixing this quickly and we're not fixing it simply. But to be clear, that doesn't mean we shouldn't make measured, prudent, incremental changes. Scary this isn't top comment.